really happy to be speaking to you today.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Oh, of course. I was so happy to speak with you because everybody's processing this moment so differently. It's not like we've already gone through this and we're guiding people after we've walked this path. We're all kind of walking this path together.
Yes, we're all in this together.
It's not creating anything new, but it's making what was already there really, really big.
Just putting it right there. Hi. I'm going to bring it all here.
It's just all
See how you deal with it.
And you know something humbling? Like Oprah Winfrey did her first show on TV when she was 33. Gary Vaynerchuk made his first YouTube video when he was 32 years old. You know, Carolyn Miss, an incredible like spiritual teacher, she did her very first intuitive reading when she was 32 years old.
See?
Right? What the fuck are we worried? Like, you know, do you know what I mean? It's like what? You know, like we're early. You know, she's in her 60s. Like she's in her 70s. Like they started around the time where we are gaining enough life experience to be like, fuck it, this is my purpose. Because we're comparing ourselves to people who are 30, 40 years older than us in the field, being like, why am I not at that point?
Yeah. And then also comparing like your status to someone who may have made it.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like placing that value on one kind of success. Do you know who the fuck you are? Do you know what you did for people and the difference that you've made to other people's lives? And here you are shitting on yourself because you haven't made that webinar that person did. Who cares? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I would never judge someone for believing that, but I just go, hey, this is not the only way to measure the impact that you've had on the lives of other people. Like, yeah, the past teaches you some things, but you're still in this moment right now making a choice.
Exactly.
You know, you're still figuring out, hey, I'm going to say this next. I'm going to do this next. And so at the end of the day, it's about two people being like, this is where I'm right. This is where I fucked up. And for the other person to go, this is where I'm right. And this is where I fucked up. If you have
taking responsibility.
Yeah.
But also I love the whole kind of the shit around conscious relationships. Like I didn't know that I am conscious. I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
To be conscious is to be alive.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that being in a relationship meant that, it needs to be a conscious or unconscious relationship. I'm like, isn't it just a relationship? Yes. Isn't it just like, I like to call it like a partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a relationship, but a partnership. It's like you're holding hands and you're taking a deep breath and going, let's go through this together.
I'm like a huge student of like nature and the seasons. Like I'm always really guided by that. It's so beautiful. And like when you look at that, you see mountains, you see the sun, you see like masculine symbols in nature. You go, fuck, like they are relentless in their presence and in the way that they provide. The sun grows everything. The moon has no light of her own. She borrows the sun's light, but what she does is that she receives it, and with that, she controls the water and nurtures the water of all the earth. Right? So it's a beautiful thing. There's no kind of like, no moon, you go first. Get your own light. Stop being so fucking dependent on me.
Stop being so dependent on me.
You know, fuck it. I'm not going to the flower. The flower has to come to me. You know, it's a dance. Fuck it. Just lead. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
just lead, bitch. Even as a dancer, I'm like, can you lead me, please?
I know you're a flower, but maybe you
need to come to me.
Yeah. I think you're a bit too needy. Like, I don't actually want to like go, I know I'm the bee, but what have you been doing lately? Hi, everybody. I am so happy to have Charlotte Schinckel-Brown with me today. She is a dancer. She's a creative, an artist. Something that's really important and of value to Charlotte is helping activate both the light and dark in others. Thank you for being with me.
Oh, thank you, Ray. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, especially at this point in our history and at this point in time for all of us as human beings. So I just, first of all, want to ask you, it's like, how are you doing?
Full transparency, because that's what I love to see in people. I'm great. And I am also going through my own challenges at the moment. And that's such a beautiful thing for people who are leaders or people who guide others, in acknowledging that they too are human and have their stuff going on. This whole period of time has been life-changing and very just a pivotal time in history. I know for myself and even for my higher self. It's been like testing that next level and just really showing me what I am capable of, but also what I am needing to go through. Yeah. And once I go through that, I assist others to be able to get through those points as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. As leaders, it's really important to express and articulate our own humanity. I think sometimes there's a temptation for leaders to either elevate themselves or to create this appearance that I used to struggle once, but I don't anymore. Part of your work is to help others by leading and, to show them vulnerability by being vulnerable. What is the value of doing this, of making room for, all our humanity as well as our wisdom?
Excellent question. Humans, we are amazing. Our capacity to be able to live through life, gain learnings and experiences, and learn and translate whatever the meaning is from that experience, and the wisdom that is found in that. The beautiful thing that I love about when all of that happens, that's a creative process. There's this beautiful exchange we have in providing value to one another, even from someone on the other side of the world. Like, you don't realize the value in which, when you hold space and provide space to be able to go through their experiences, find the learnings, gain the wisdom, attain it themselves, and realizing that there's someone somewhere going through a similar thing and learning the same thing as you.
Yeah. I guess what I'm hearing you say is to realize that even what we think of as individual experiences, it's part of the collective human experience. And
Absolutely.
So you may think your journey is unique, but as you acknowledge your own humanity, you may connect with somebody completely different, a stranger who's been yearning for those words and who may be looking for somebody to see them and reflect that experience back to them.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is, with all of this, is just the connection we can all have.
Yeah, beautiful. And something that brings me to, comfortably to the next point. I love that you very comfortably can integrate creativity, dancing, human connection, and describe it all as the same thing. I wanted to ask where that comes from.
We think of the word movement. Movement to me is life. Without movement, there's this kind of, it's stagnant. And humans, when things are stagnant, sure, at first it might be like, oh, cool, take a second. And then there's this irritation that begins to happen, right? Whereas with movement, it gives so much like range and ability and expression to be able to come through. And the thing is, movement is life. It is life force. It is everything. It is universal energy. It is higher intelligence. It is the human body. It is nature all coming together. And if I'm working with a dancer, if I'm choreographing a piece, if I am coaching someone, if I am mentoring someone, this kind of thing, what I've come to realize is that everything is intertwined.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so I firmly believe that the movement and allowing everything to intertwine beautifully in like a twisted, magnificent orb of like light, sound, love, energy, creation, everything coming together and spiraling is so beautiful. And it's like, it creates like a wholeness.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that so much. And I think I often say this, like, artists have probably taught me the most about life, you know, artists and nature, because there is such an acceptance in art of everything, of the totality of experience. Art welcomes it, goes, you know, what are you? All of you is welcome here. All of what you feel, all of that you could be is welcome in the space of being an artist. I think it's also desperately needed in this world, you know, especially given some of the challenges that we have and some of the opportunities we have in our world at the moment. What role has dancing played in your life as you, who you are and how you show up in the world? I know you love this question and I love hearing you talk about it.
Okay, where do I begin? Dance for me has been the place that I go to where when I need to say something, when I need to move through something, when I need to process something, when I need to engage, when I need to connect with myself, when I need to connect with others, dance for me has been the most incredible way for me to express myself. And it goes back to when I was a little girl. You know, it all started there. And for me, I was put into dance class because when I was younger, I actually had a learning difficulty in which I was unable to speak for quite a long time. And essentially my mum and dad, they saw me to be very like, I loved music. I was always busy moving my body and I was always wanting to express myself, but it wouldn't come out in English. It would come out in my own language. And they were like, okay, well, let's like filter this and let's support her through that, but let's give her other things as well that's going to allow her to express herself. And when I was 3 years old, they put me in that little blue leotard, took me to the dance studio, popped me in there, and that's where I started to find that part of me, and has actually broadened my kind of capacity and my ability to appreciate more of what I see in art and in people and in life and stuff. It's like, it's not just me getting on stage and performing or doing a video or getting a job. It has opened up my mind and my heart to be able to really appreciate the people and the experiences I witness in front of me or I go through.
Yeah, beautiful. Even as you were talking about it before, like when we talk about the word movement, right? The word itself has different meanings. So, you know, it's to physically move. It's to shift something within. It can describe a social movement or, you know, a collective movement. And so, and so what's really interesting is like as an artist, or like I feel like dance has allowed you to not only physically move, but it has allowed you to move through different levels of engagement and different ways of connecting with the human experience as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Massively.
And, but you know, something that I see in that is a huge sensitivity. There's a deep awareness that you have of the way things are connected. So I wanted to speak a little bit about sensitivity, some of your thoughts and some of your feelings about sensitivity, because it can be a double-edged sword. Or in the conversations I've had with people, their experience or their opinion of their own sensitivity, it's not always clear-cut. Sometimes it's seen as a curse. Sometimes it's seen as a gift. So I wanted to know a little bit more about where you stand on this, how you see this.
Sensitivity. I'm on both sides for it.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I am a highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
Always have been.
Mm-hmm.
Probably will be.
Yeah.
It's my greatest gift.
Yeah.
Because my sensitivity allows me to. So this is interesting. I don't necessarily identify myself as an empath anymore, but I identify myself as a highly compassionate person.
Okay.
Because I see people's experience. Do I necessarily want to feel it with them?
Mm-hmm.
In that moment for me, my choice is I already know how sensitive I am, and it's about me looking after myself, but still being able to be there and like serve and be there for them and be that strength for them in that moment. But yeah, so the kind of the sensitivity I have, it serves me every day. The way I show up, the way the ability I have to be able to kind of create things and move people.
Yeah. Beautiful.
With like whatever creations I make, a conversation we have, and just I think my capacity to love and to care and having that kind of sensitivity.
Yeah.
Then we bring it over to the other side. And I'm not going to label it as bad.
Yeah.
It is a worthy opponent. It is a worthy opponent.
Right.
And this is like the thing about life. It's all about having that, that polarity in it and having that dance and that pull and push and all that.
Yeah.
And with that worthy opponent, and I'm sure for people who are listening, if they are similar to me and identify themselves as a highly sensitive person, there are times where we, when everything becomes a bit too much, it's like we start to feel out of control, and it can be overwhelming. It can be very scary. It's like our body feels like it's just going to erupt, and we sometimes don't quite know what to do with it. And for me, it all comes through, it comes through my body and pushes out very hard and fast, and it's through tears, shaking. For me, that's just how my system works. And for a long time, I will be honest, I've beaten myself up about it, and I've had people say to me, why are you so sensitive? Oh, you're so sensitive. God, stop being so sensitive. And there's that part of me, I go, that side of me going, oh yeah, they're totally right. Like, I just need to get over it and get over myself and change and be like, not care. Yeah. And then there's that other part of me going, hang on, this is such a beautiful gift you have in that you are sensitive. And it means that you are deeply in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
So there are two sides to this, and it's okay. We have the fun and the good of being sensitive, and we have the worthy opponent, and it's about being aware. But then also at times when we're not aware, hopefully we have people in our lives who can kind of be there for us. Not kind of, but also know that they can be there for you and support you through that. And one lesson I'm learning is to honor that support when it's required.
Oh, so many pearls of wisdom in just what you said. I'll start with the end, which is, left to our own devices, we can really limit what we see about ourselves and the gifts of who we are. Not doing this together or making other people part of this process, be it your friends, your family, your confidants, your coaches, your mentors, whoever it is, to add to the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are. Right? So we can really figure out, okay, what's true about this situation? That's
right.
Really important. Yeah. And I'm curious about this actually, because I think I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. I myself am I would say a highly sensitive person, and I respond to stress quite physically, and the emotions, or back in the day, I would respond to the emotions of other people quite physically.
Yes.
So, you know, part of what you said was some strategies that you have, which is to draw the boundary, you know. So for you, that may a question of language. So instead of using the word empathy, you use the word highly compassionate, because that helps you draw a boundary between how much of that you take in.
Yes.
You know, and not saying that you can't do that if you call yourself empathetic as well, but
Absolutely.
but you know, but something, I think words are really powerful, and so something that's one strategy you've taken to take care of yourself with that gift, with your sensitivity, and to
Yes.
manage it, right?
Absolutely.
And another thing that I'm hearing you say is you know, to see the other side, you know, to see the flip side of this, and to call it a worthy opponent, you know. And I'm curious about this because there are like a couple of different dialogues about this. Sometimes, you know, we say when we refer to an opponent, we look at it as something that either has to be defeated, or there's a language of opposition that comes in. And another part of this work is to also be quite accepting and to create changes through acceptance. As sometimes I find that calling it an opponent can then also create a little bit of a division inside. Because, you know, then you start like judging yourself for it or whatever. It creates a little bit of a conflict. So I'm curious, it's like in terms of how that affects your approach, or what approach you take when you do call it an opponent or something that you want to manage and create boundaries around.
Yeah. So the reason, I guess, essentially why I call it a worthy opponent, worthy, is one, I believe both sides are allowed to have their presence and say.
Yeah.
And what I mean about the word kind of opponent is like, ooh, there's this other part of me that's like stepping up to me going, Charlotte, just hang on a second. I'm kind of thinking, feeling XYZ. I understand it has a presence, but at the end of the day, we all get to have a choice of what we're going to listen or act on. And for me, that slightly kind of darker side where it's like, you're really like, you're super sensitive. A lot of us, we have this other side of us, and we're not willing to look at it or acknowledge it, or actually, I'm going to say it, or celebrate it. And the reason why I say celebrate is because this might be a bit controversial, but for me, I get a little bit ticked off about when people are just like, I need to be pure light. And just everything pure, and, you know, be fully embodied all the time and stuff. I appreciate, I love that. However,
yes, in addition
to, I also, for more in my beliefs, is that we have this side of us, and it is there to make us stronger. It's showing up to be like, hey, so we're here. What are you going to do about it? And it's like, okay, so you're wanting me to like up the ante a little bit, like, you know, show a bit of kick-ass to myself. Like what is it? Like, is this to empower myself? It's about how you frame it and how you look at it, you know? And that's, for me, I thrive off that. I look at that and go, cool, I'm going to like rock this out now.
Amazing. I'm so glad I clarified that, because I think we're in agreement, which is even though you're describing it as an opponent, I still see a lot of, there's like a playfulness, there's a welcoming, there's an energy towards it that is loving, and it's like that healthy sense of competition.
Yes.
Right. So that dynamic is, I guess that's what I wanted to clarify, which is that dynamic is really important. You know, the word itself is harmless, right? You can call it whatever you want.
Oh, totally.
Some of those relationships where it might be called, like, used the language of like parenting. It's like your inner child, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, that notion of self-parenting. So whether you call it an opponent, whether you call it your inner child, the dynamic remains that you're curious about it, you're playful with it, you're you bring an energy of curiosity about
Yes.
what it's there to tell you.
Yes, because a lot of highly creative people are very like, they're curious. Yeah. They're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, what's that? They might not be as calm as I'm being right now. They might be in tears and like screaming and all that. They're like, why is this showing up? Like, why is this here? Good, go with that. Because if anything, one of the biggest things I've learned is suppression is probably the most harmful thing you could do for yourself. But acceptance is a power in itself. And it's something I think, especially as women, we do have this kind of, there's a part of us at times that's like, I'll just accept that it is what it is, or they fight so hard to not accept it. And sometimes when we accept something for what it is, we then allow the next layer of it to unfold. Yeah. It's just giving permission to it to show up.
Yes. I think that's, you phrased it so beautifully, which is if you can create a space where that part of you, that darkness, the hypersensitivity, whatever it is, if there's room for it to make itself known, for it to be expressed in some way, you'll find the next level of yourself, your next step, your next course of action. Like, that's there to reveal something about who you are.
Yes.
Yeah, it holds tremendous insights about who you are and what's important.
Yes.
I love that you said that, and I think this brings me to the next point, which is you mentioned women, and you also mentioned the beauty of expression and the importance of expression. In dance, we get to do that physically. So tell me about some of the ways that you help women express themselves or bring out that sense of self-expression through your other work, the other side of what you do through coaching.
Yeah, cool. So I absolutely love being in that space as well. And what's interesting is I've always felt like there was a part of me that was going to be able to help people open up themselves more creatively and like be able to express themselves and in whatever way or modality that they choose.
Yeah.
And what I say to people is I chose dance and dance chose me.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned to do it. It literally, we chose each other and it was like, okay, we're in this. Like, I love you, let's go. And I guess for me, when I work with people, I get them to come back to very simple things of what makes you happy, what lights you up, and what's a part of you that maybe you have pushed down for a long time due to fear or not feeling like they're good enough to be able to do it or worthy enough or any of that kind of stuff. And it gets to me a little bit because I'm like, we are creativity. We are a creation ourselves. And when we feel like we have been silenced and been like, no, we are not able to be that kind of expressive, free-flowing yet kind of fiery parts like of ourselves allowed to come through.
Yeah.
That's what got me going into this space. And now I have the amazing opportunity and chance to be able to help hold that space for them to go through the finding out about themselves through their darkness. I always look at it and I go, God, that's so beautiful. Because for a long time, the darkness that I've experienced in my life has fueled me and I've made tremendous creative works out of it. And I know the power that has for people being able to transform their darkness into something magnificent and light-worthy and all that kind of stuff. For me, when I am coaching or mentoring, I have I hold your hand and let's do it together approach. We're going through it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's
Whereas
beautiful.
when I'm dance teaching, it's a little different because I'm teaching like 20 something years of experience that I've had to people who are still learning that process. Whereas in coaching, people have, like we spoke about before, so much wisdom in themselves already.
Yeah.
It's about being around the right energy and having the right kind of person around them to be able to allow those answers for themselves to come out.
Having this conversation with a client a couple of weeks ago, which is what actually creates transformation in other people. A lot of people may think it's your skills, right? It's the modalities you are using. It's the order of questions that you're asking. And time again, I've realized and I've seen in people that the most powerful transformation happens in another human being with the depth of your attention, your love, and that person feeling deeply seen, heard, and understood. You know, what creates that shift is that sense of recognition and unconditional support. And in my case, that's empathy, because you're there, you're in there, and you're really making it clear to the person that you know this road and you love them and you see them and help them see that they aren't alone.
That's right.
Yeah. So I love that. And I really honor you for it, because I think it takes courage to not see yourself, or to not to create this hierarchy where you're just kind of like giving people advice from a place of knowing, right? Like you're kind of evening the playing field and you're holding their hand and you're going on that journey together.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of, that links back to what we were talking about before about humanity.
Yeah.
And humility as well.
Yes.
Being humble in the process as well. And I think there's a lot of people in this space, they feel like they have to know everything and every answer in order for them to be successful or worthy to be able to work with a person. And I completely disagree. I completely disagree, because we have all had such different experiences.
Yeah.
And we are such different, like we are all so different, yet we are so beautifully connected. And this is the thing, with our difference and our connection, we can connect by allowing that person to see maybe something from a different point of view, or have a different kind of outlook on it. I believe that's why we're there. You know, it's not necessarily being able to be like, yes, I've been through the exact same thing you've been through. Here's how to fix it. And I'm not a big fan of the word fix, because like I have said, and you've heard me say before, no one is broken.
Yeah.
You are not broken.
Yeah.
And if you have ever been told that, or you have ever said that to yourself, I implore you to maybe take a deep breath and recognize that if you are still in your beautiful body and you are still hanging out with yourself, you are not broken.
One side of the equation is women, or anybody, like people feeling like they're not enough. So it's fueled by inadequacy.
Yes.
Right? I'm not strategic enough. I'm not strong enough. There's the question of enough, which is fueled by inadequacy. And the flip side of that is too much. That I'm too sensitive. So both sides of the equation marked by something that's not quite right. Either there's not enough of something, or there's too much of something. So what would you say to anyone? I know you work specifically with women, but who would say that their truth, or what they have, is either too much or it's not enough? And throughout their lives, they've either been given that feedback or they've told themselves that.
I've been there. And at times I'm still there. And that's me being honest. One question which I've begun to ask myself is, when did you decide that? When did you decide you were too, or you weren't enough?
Yeah.
You know, it's because both those phrases are very powerful when we talk about language and words and meaning. what we put the meaning around something.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that you're too much of something or not enough
Mm-hmm.
of something
Yeah.
is a very boxed in, like I said before, a boxed in label that is compressing your beautiful ability and capacity to be your fullest self.
Yeah.
And I guess essentially it's always coming back to you.
Yeah.
And if anyone is to ever say those things to you, one of the biggest things I've learned is if they say it directly to you, they are speaking to themselves in that moment. Like, for example, I have heard this one a fair bit. You are way, way too caring.
Yep.
You care way too much.
Yep.
You care too much.
Uh-huh.
And for me, I look at them and I go, okay, that might be true. But there's that little part of myself going, but hang on. I love caring. There is that compassionate side that does come through when I'm aware. And that's what I need to say, when I'm aware, because I'm not always on my game and I am human. I am feminine. I am fiery and move around and sometimes not fully aware of what's happening in front of me.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging the fact when that person says that to me, I go, okay, well, either they possibly feel that about themselves or they're not caring enough about themselves.
I'm really glad you brought this up because I think it's an important debate, which is sometimes when people are faced with the option of either losing somebody else's love or losing their own love, you know, sometimes they will accommodate themselves so that they don't lose out on somebody else's love or approval or another relationship.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I've balanced it, but in this case, I'm going to decide I'm too much because if I'm really myself, I risk losing the love of someone that I care about. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be a relationship as well. And for some people, this pattern can go back a long time. It can be something that they learned since they were children. So what are some things you've used, what maybe it can be language or practices that have helped you bring the focus back to you, that's allowed you to value yourself instead of fearing the loss of a relationship or a friendship or something?
Yeah. This is always, I think, a very unique process for each person.
Yeah.
You know, depending on their past circumstances, what their, model of the world has been.
Yes.
That's one thing we always need to understand and respect people's model of the world currently. They are allowed to shift and change that whenever they like.
Yeah.
But one thing I guess when I think about being like too much or not enough for someone, I tend to realize that, oh, hang on a second. There's a part of me right now that I need to come back to. And I won't lie, I have spent a lot of my life looking for the external to please my internal. Okay. And I share that because, again, I'm on this journey as well. And it's, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
And it's through awareness and stuff that you build the capacity in realizing when those thoughts or words have come at you.
Yeah.
Or have come from yourself. There's always that flip side to it. And when we say it, it's like, well, hang on. What do I need right now in order for me to feel good enough or wanted? And, it's like in relationships or something, you may be wanting that love from that person.
Yeah.
And they not giving it to you fully because maybe they're going through their own stuff.
Yeah.
That is your invitation to come back to yourself and go, how can I fill this up for me right now?
Mm-hmm.
How can I do this for me? What can I do for myself right now? And it's like we've spoken before, Ray, is like, you know, being worthy of something.
Yes.
It comes back to how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not about the external validation of others, even though I know it's so hard. We live in a society at times where external validation is the validation. Like,
Yeah.
and especially I'll say it, that's been my whole background, my whole life, to get the job, to be the dancer, to get the modeling gigs, to do that stuff. It is all external validation. And what I realize, and I hope the listeners do as well, is that we are all able to beautifully and uniquely be ourselves.
Yeah.
And yes, it can feel a little at times, but it's all about unfolding those layers of ourself and learning to love and appreciate and accept that layer. So then when the next layer comes through, it's a new experience. And not every layer is going to be sunshine and lollipops. It's not, because that's just not life. That's the light and dark. That's where the magic is. And it's about understanding that and celebrating it and being very aware of it.
Yeah. Beautiful. What I'm hearing you say is that long term, if you don't make space for the truth of who you are, for that dialogue in yourself, it catches up with you.
It does.
Right? So, you know, sometimes we kind of make this analysis on the spot, being like, oh, don't worry about me. I'll just kind of do what it takes to get that person's love. Right? But long term, there's this deep yearning that we have to be accepted by ourselves, to be loved by ourselves, for ourselves to find that we're worthy and deserving of love.
Absolutely.
You also want acceptance from yourself. You want to know that you listened to you, that you believed in you. You know?
Totally.
Whatever that is. If it's the light, if it's the dark, make room for it. And cultivate that relationship with yourself. A lot of people are navigating deeper levels of stuff at the moment. We've had a pandemic. We're asking big questions like, what will the future be? What's it all going to look like? Is there a question that's been on your heart recently or during this whole time that you've asked, or something that you've been delving a little bit deeper into?
It's very simple.
Those are the best ones sometimes.
During this period of time, there has been parts of me throwing my hands up in the air going, what now?
Yeah.
And for me, one thing that is brought to my attention at times is to stay present, as I have a tendency to think future-paced.
Yeah.
And that causes, you know, anxiety and all that kind of stuff, because we don't know. Like, we can have visions and ideas.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you know, there has been that thought of what now? And it can be asked in that way of like, what now? Or what now? Both serve, because both are bringing attention to what needs to be addressed. And I think that when I go over here and I'm like, oh, what now?
Yeah.
You know, if something has come up with my family or something's come up in my relationship and I'm like, oh, what now? What have I? And usually for myself and probably for some of the listeners, it goes, what have I done now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, what have I done now? And especially during this period of time, you know, there's been a lot of like intense emotions for a lot of people, and, you know, shifts in like relationships and friendships and the dynamics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've literally just very recently been kind of pondering about is that realizing that this is all just, it's happening for us. And I think when we future pace it a little bit, it is going to make us better.
I hope people are seeing like just how attuned you are, Charlotte, to like individual words and what they mean and the difference it can make to your life if you use the same words in a different tone, if you ask yourself the same question in a different way. So I want to thank you so much for that, because you're teaching us how very quickly you can go to a state of gratitude, to a state of purpose, you know, by just shifting how you're asking that question.
Yeah, it's just about shifting the energy.
Yeah.
And that's in life. If you can shift your energy, you will get a different outcome.
What's your why? What lights you up? What are you here to give?
What lights me up? I love this question. It kind of gets me like, oh, what lights me up? I love seeing people be in their element. And what I mean by that is doing the thing, whatever is the thing for them, whether it's whether you're a painter, or if you are a CEO, or if you are an entrepreneur, or you are someone who works at a flower shop.
Yeah.
Someone who is in their element and they're happy and they're loving it.
Yeah.
That's what lights me up. And I've had a very privileged, I'm going to say it, a very privileged and very, very, very lucky upbringing, and able to do all the things I ever wanted, you know. And there are so many people out there who were suppressed down and not able to go and experience the things that really made them light up. And for me, that breaks my heart. And so I guess my purpose is to give people the full permission to be able to go and do what they want to create in the world, and what they want to feel and experience and just be in the world. And the biggest thing I say to people is, you are the artist of your life. Now go and create your magic for the world.
Yeah.
You are the artist of your life.
That is stunning, right? Because all of a sudden it makes you so conscious. It's like, what? I can, the next thing, that's up to me.
You fully drop into yourself. Yeah. And there's no good or bad. There's no like yuck or yum. It's all just, it is what it is. And when you come from that place and you start going into what really lights you up, you just have these endless possibilities and kind of thoughts and feelings and experiences, and everything like magnetizes to you and also manifests more for you. And it's about being aware of that. And if you are to fall off track, because we do fall down, and that's okay. We fall down, you know, we hit the pavement, but it's just about getting back up. It's like, get up, because you are creating your magic right now. Do it. It's okay. You have full permission, full-blown permission to do it.
Yeah. If you see yourself as an artist or a creator, the next word I say, the next movement I make, like that's all on me.
Yes.
You know, where this goes, like this is my stage.
You are the artist. You are the artistic director of the damn show, which is your life.
Yeah. Beautiful. I know that we're all on the path, we're all walking. Is there like a piece of advice or a quote that really guides you and centers you, that's a part of you and how you live your life?
I guess, is there a quote?
Teaching, a principle, something that you would tell your younger self.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, the thing I would say to my younger self is that there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. And I think there's a lot of us, we fucking nitpick at ourselves. We do it, especially if you are someone who identifies slightly as like a bit of a perfectionist or as a bit manic at times.
Yeah.
I know I have identified, and that is something that I am working on daily, weekly, monthly, yearly kind of thing. And it's about realizing that if I could go back in time and meet little 4-year-old Charlotte, which I think, oh my God, if I had that ability to go and meet her, I would spend the whole day with her and just let her kind of teach me all the things. And also, again, I would remind her going, do you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are so great exactly as you are. And I know that may sound really like simple or like, oh, come on, but especially right now, especially right now, a lot of us are feeling like inadequate, or if, for example, during this period of time, a lot of people have lost a lot of like certainty in their life with like jobs, families, travel, all that kind of stuff, that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to remind you that there's nothing wrong with you. And it's time for all of us to just see ourselves for really how big and beautiful we are.
Yeah.
And that we are all connected. And it's not about, like I said before, it's not about separation anymore. It's about the intertwine.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I feel like that's such a wonderful vision for the world. What a world that will be if we could all love ourselves and see each other as one, and not to shy away from the darkness, but to acknowledge it in ourselves and in others, and to create that wholeness within and then around us.
I say this because I know there's been a lot of people going through a lot of different things right now, and it's just about coming back to yourself and really appreciating who you are, but then also appreciating who is around you and loving on you through all of your greatness and all of your mess as well, all your beautiful mess.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so grateful you said that, because if we can actually believe that there's nothing wrong with us, we feel better placed to take responsibility. It's like, it's not that we're bad. We just said a thing that we can say differently next time, or we just said that, or we treated someone some way. We can do this differently. So if you start cultivating that acceptance in yourself, then you don't have to be so defensive. You don't have to blame. You can actually start to do your own work and take ownership. How are your blessings? Notice the changes in your life. You can
That's it.
To all these different things. Oh, I love this. I want to thank you so much for being with me today.
It's been so good. Thank you so much for having me. It's just been like epic.
There's so much that you've shared, and I especially want to urge those of you who identify with your creativity, with your sensitivity, with your empathy, to kind of dig deeper into Charlotte's wisdom. You can also find Charlotte on Instagram and social media, and I will post all of the things if you want to find out more about the wonderful things she does as a dancer and a teacher. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, darling. You're a great interviewer. I've watched some podcast interviews and stuff before, and I'm like, this is really intense. Like, I watch it and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, those questions. Like, I'd be going, shit, my brain just went. And now I'd be like, sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't quite.
Yeah.
But no, like, I was locked on every word you were saying.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you, darling. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I love you.
Yeah, I love you.
I love you.
I
love you.
So much
Thank
love.
you. I'll
amazing.
message you soon, though.
Yeah. Take your own advice. I'm going to be taking your advice.
All right. I'll try to take my own advice. Fuck.
Just pay attention to everything that you said during this conversation.
Yes.